Good afternoon, good evening to actually colleagues and participants from both sides of Atlantic. So in Europe, we have actually a dinner time. In Latin America, you have lunchtime. So we will try to be as rational and optimal as possible. Today, at this last session, today, and we hope that despite the fact that we have a lot of speakers today, we will finish approximately close to 9 o'clock Central European time. So in 2 hours, actually. My name is Peter Velasco. I'm head of science division at Slovenian Ministry of Education, Science and Sport. And I'm glad to be your moderator today of this session. And first of all, I would like to thank the Slovenian Ministry of Foreign Affairs for inviting us, me and us, my colleagues as well, from the Ministry of Education, Science and Sport, to share this late afternoon, evening with you, and to touch very interesting and trendy themes, not only in Europe, but also I'm convinced also globally. So first of all, the session is of course rather late for our time, so I'm sure that we will be very rational as speakers. Each speaker has 10 minutes for the presentation, and then after each two speakers, we try to open the floor for the questions and answers, of course, from the speaker side. So 8 speakers, 4 packages for questions and answers. And if we'll still have some time at the end, we can still, of course, have some questions and answers and the interaction, the open interaction. So we have with us today, of course, very interesting and very diverse speakers with different backgrounds from different institutions and also from different countries in Europe. As we have written in the background announcement, I'm sure you have seen, it is very clear that the most pressing challenge, responsibility, and opportunity for Europe and the world is keeping our planet and people healthy. This is the defining task of our time, as it is very obvious. The European Green Deal is, of course, one of the European responses to this set of grand challenges. It will drive us forward to climate neutrality by 2050, according to the plans, to the strategy in Europe, and of course, at the same time, focus also on adaptation to these changes. It will help protect and preserve the biodiversity, the natural heritage, and the oceans that bring so much wealth to us. The European Green Deal is a new European growth strategy. This is said by of course, the European College of Commissioners. The other side of the same story is the digital transition. The digital transition is already having a significant impact on every aspect of our lives and careers. It opens up new opportunities to connect, communicate, solve societal issues, and do business. So today we will discuss some of these aspects of twin transition, as we call it in Europe, top EU projects and citizen science, which are connected features of the renewed European research area, and the EU policy priorities as well, of course. And of course, we will also discuss the opportunities for the strengthened cooperation between EU member states, the European institutions, and Latin American countries with our colleagues from the different backgrounds and from different countries and from different DGs of the European Commission today. So let me start by inviting the first speaker today. This is a short package of green transition issues or items. And I'm very glad that we have today with us the director of National Institute of Chemistry of Slovenia, Professor Dr. Gregor Anderluh, who will actually present our National Institute of Chemistry and the possibilities for the further cooperation with the Latin American countries. So please, Dr. Anderluh, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. Can I share the screen? Okay, can you see it? Yeah. Thank you very much again for opportunity to present our institute. We are National Institute of Chemistry. I'm the director of the institute. In Slovenia, we have 16 public research institutes, and our institute is the second biggest and the second oldest. So I will present briefly what we do, how we do, what are our operations, and basically all other research institutions in public research institutes in Slovenia are performing research and development in a similar way. We are 75 years old institute. We were established after Second World War in order to help the country at that time with studies based on coal. So in years, in decades afterwards, the institute activities were directed to chemical sciences. In 70s and 80s, there was a transition followed also by development of pharmaceutical sciences in Slovenia. So we maintain and keep very strong links from that time also nowadays. We grew, of course, in time in terms of personnel from one person 75 years ago to a modern research institution. The last addition was Pregl Research Center, named after a Slovenian born Nobel Prize winner Friedrich Pregl, which was completed in 2013, and when we host some of our most important research infrastructure. So an aspect of scientific infrastructure is particularly important for us. So we have established several pieces of large pieces of equipment, which is nowadays used for characterizations of materials at atomic scale, such as transmission electron microscope, studies of biological molecules at atomic scale with cryo-electron microscopy. We are running a national nuclear magnetic resonance center, which is a very helpful infrastructure unit, not only for our research, but also for academic and most importantly, industrial users in Slovenia and in the region. We also have in-house high performance computing cluster, which helps us with modeling in our research. Institutions such as ours cannot function in isolated manner. We are part of international science. We have and keep and maintain strong scientific links, first and foremost with European countries and European institutions. For example, last year we signed a scientific contract with ILL, Institut Langevin from Grenoble, for studies of material involving neutrons. And of course, we keep contacts also globally with partners from all over the world. So our mission is to generate new knowledge in chemistry and associate studies. We are one of the very important missions is a transfer of knowledge to younger generations. So we provide a very stimulating environment for development of new scientists. And we also are committed to transfer knowledge into the industry and to cooperate with industry when their developmental problems are exposed and they need this kind of help and assistance. So at the moment we are around 370 employees. Approximately 1/3 are PhD students. More importantly, approximately 15% of employees are foreigners. So we are welcoming any talent from abroad, and at the moment researchers from 27 different countries are performing their studies at the institute. Our areas of our research, although we are National Institute of Chemistry by name, we cover many different areas which are loosely connected to chemistry. We have very strong biotechnology portfolio with several research groups which are proficient in synthetic biology. Life sciences research is also very strong. On the other hand, we are very strong in nanotechnology, in energetics, and chemical engineering, as I will highlight later on with a few selected examples, which are important, of course, for green transition and decarbonization. With our projects and research teams, we cover all societal challenges defined by European Union. This is also very well visible in portfolio of our projects. So at the end of the last year, we were active in more than 170 different projects at European and national level. So these projects, we are very proud on projects from European Union. We have acquired funding for 6 ERC, European Research Council projects, which are the most scientifically established and praised projects at the European level. So we are able to provide excellent environment for such studies. So far, in the last framework program of European Union, we have cooperated or coordinating 49 projects, which puts us at the top of institutions in Slovenia and also the region. So if we look at the projects from the perspective of sustainable themes of United Nations, the top topics that are covered by our projects are health, clean energy, and sustainable consumption and production. In fact, there are several themes which are connected to green transition and zero carbon society, such as hydrogen technology and issues around that, advanced electrochemical approaches, including discovery of materials for energy storage and conversion. The concept of biorefinery in chemical engineering studies is very strong. We also are very good in polymer chemistry and technology issues, including recycling these materials. And as mentioned already, the modeling is important in all of this. In all of these endeavors, so there's quite a strong department covering this. Oh, sorry, I just realized that. Okay, yeah, there's quite a strong department that is strong about this. Let me, to conclude, let me present several of the projects that are connected to green transition and decarbonization. One very nice example in the field of development of better and advanced catalysts for hydrogen economy is 1-2-3 stable project of European Research Council, which was acquired by Professor Hodnik. This project is aimed to generate better catalysis, which can be used in future in hydrogen fuel cells. And so the research team has a great applicative potential, and in fact, Dr. Hodnik has acquired also proof of concept grants from ERC in order to develop this idea and to bring it closer to application. So with top science, we can actually provide some practical solution. Then in the field of decarbonization, I'd like to highlight a FRESME project, which is a very nice demonstration how we can tackle the issue of CO2 reuse by generating fuels which can be used for transportation and chemical sectors in Europe. This is a big consortium of 13 partners, and the outcomes of this project were really nice concept on how can we tackle decarbonization issue. Biorefinery concept is kept and maintained in several different projects. Biosprint is another big consortia of European partners which aim for zero waste operations by trying to reduce energy resources and greenhouse gases emission when some material, in this case hemicelluloses and lignocelluloses biomass, is converted to materials that can be used in other fields. Institute as ours can not only provide new knowledge and solutions for applications, but also can be part of policy formation at the level of European Union. For example, this is LCA 4 regions Interreg project of 9 partners, which aim to provide a holistic approach for public policies related to environmental protection and resource efficiency. So we are very, very strong in circular economy issues, and we try to provide also we try to employ our knowledge also at the policy level. We have, as mentioned several times, very strong collaborations with industry. So with top science, we can actually convince our international partners that we are right place to develop some innovative solutions for their projects. For example, I would like to highlight this R&D contracts, long-term R&D contracts that we have with, for example, Oxford Nanopore Technologies in the field of nanosensing, and with Honda automotive industry in the field of battery development. So new types of batteries, which also are a much important part of green transition theme in Europe. So also in collaboration with industry, we can and we do contribute to green transition and decarbonization. So with this, I would like to thank you for your attention, and I'll be happy to participate in the discussion later. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Director Anderluch. This was a very nice presentation. I hope that our colleagues and participants today from far abroad, from the other part of the Atlantic, got a good picture about this potential of the National Institute of Chemistry in Slovenia. Now we will go directly to our second speaker, to Mrs. Dr. Andrea Kutner, who is the chief person, a driving force of our project InnoRenew. InnoRenew is one of the projects of the Horizon 2020, and it was awarded by quite some millions of euros, as you will hear today. And this project is very multi-level and multi-sectorial, so I think it will be very interesting for many listeners today to hear more about this project, which is really international and one of the best projects we have here. It is the only teaming project we have in Slovenia. So, Mrs. Kutner, please, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much for the introduction. I don't know if now the expectations are high when you were doing the introduction. So I've been participating at I think it was the second Latin American Caribbean Days that we were together in Porto Roche, and it was a really pleasant event. Today I will be talking a bit more because the topic is also about the green, technologies, about InnoRenew and the activities that we do related to constructing our new home towards the climate change and, of course, the future of the built environment. So as it was mentioned, InnoRenew is a result of a successful Horizon teaming program application. We were successful in obtaining the funds, where we need to emphasize also the huge contribution from the national level. And so we established an institute, InnoRenew, that has 4 founders: University of Primorska, Fraunhofer Institute from Germany, Civil Engineering Institute from Ljubljana, and Cultural Heritage Institute. The title of the institute says it all: Renewable Materials and Healthy Environments Research and Innovation Center of Excellence. So those are our topics. Below are listed also all the partners. Today, being 4 years in operation, we have 70 people employed. Out of the 70, it's 46% are foreigners coming from 17 different countries. We do have one from Colombia, and this person actually came to us from Spain, but was born in Colombia. So we still have room to expand, to be actually more present in South America. And we run currently, I think it's 46 projects, quite a lot of them. And I won't go into this presentation of all the projects and how we are organized, but I would focus on something that I believe is very relevant today, even in establishing collaborations beyond Europe. And this is the use of wood and other renewable materials, or materials in general, in achieving the sustainability, where I think it's very important to go towards reuse. And in Europe, we sometimes say that it's maybe even a buzzword, circular economy, but I think that this is something that I think it's a lot of opportunities for collaboration also beyond Europe. As mentioned, we are really focused on wood, but also other renewable materials. The reason is that with the renewable materials, we can be making these circles with a closed loop. So we can actually do the recycling, we can do upgrading, but at the end, even if we use it for energy, the biological cycle is completed. On the other hand, when we use non-renewable materials, we can still circulate. We can still make circles, but there is always extraction, and there is always then the landfilling at the end that goes out of the waste. So there is the reason why we are really supporting this circular economy and the use of renewable materials. Our focus in the frame of InnoRenew activities is also to be looking at and solving the issues of reusing and cascade utilization of wood, this natural material, and that we go into multiple cycles, including towards the end, before we use it for energy, for a source of chemicals and chemical processing. And why, maybe it's odd that I bring this out here, but I find it very important. And this is that recently there was a new European Bauhaus established, and in this, at this time, or this event of when it was actually defined, our president, Ursula von der Leyen, she was emphasizing the following. I will allow myself to cite her. We know that the construction sector can even be turned from a carbon source into a sink if organic building materials like wood and smart technologies like artificial intelligence are applied. And I find this like a really important achievement on the European level, that we are actually turning these buildings that are huge contributors to the climate change issues that we have, and a huge opportunity also for utilizing renewable material as wood is. So the new European Bauhaus, it's an initiative that wants to co-create, bring the society together, researchers, politicians, to create new ideas. And it's my honor to be presenting that we became last week partners of this new European Bauhaus, where we just today and tomorrow, actually, the first conference is taking place, where we will really try to contribute to the future of Europe, where we want to be reducing the emissions that we are causing. And there are many activities related to this, which I won't now go into, but an important aspect that InnoRenew is focusing on is how the built environment can actually be contributing to reduction of the CO2 emissions. Also, in the frame of the Bauhaus, the best practice presented is our new building that is under construction in Isola, will be finished in September. It's the largest wooden building in Slovenia so far, and it's going to be our new home for laboratories, from acoustics to microscopy lab to we even have just a carpenter's workshop for working obviously with wood, characterization lab, and similarly. But I'm not going to talk about this part, but actually how we are trying to do that. The building is actually our research object as well. So we dared to implement some novel and advanced uses of wood, and especially by trying to replace some non-renewable materials in buildings, while the focus is to create a healthy working environment. So we go a step forward, not only looking at the energy efficiency, how the building is actually impacting the environment, but how the building is impacting us, the people that use this. We designed the building on our own with internally employed experts, from architects to construction civil engineers to also experts in so-called restorative design. And of course, also the researchers were involved in providing innovative solutions for materials to be used. We did the life cycle so far of our building. It's the carbon footprint of the materials being used is 3,500 tons of CO2 emissions. I'm not going to go into details, but I would just like to emphasize it's important to be looking at these impacts during the construction phase already. And whoever is interested in the results, I would be really happy to share them with you. But there is another thing that we are doing, and this is that during the construction, a lot of waste is being created. And with InnoRenew's construction, we are actually collecting all the waste. Here in the bottom photo, you can see how we are collecting the waste. We are sorting it. We still didn't decontaminate it all and processing it further, because the processing part is actually currently a task for students of computer science and students of art to create an object and out of this waste wood. And we would like with this activity also bring the creative sector to the ambition of changing the future of the built environment. The whole building is also having many sensors, and we will be monitoring many things, but that's not today the focus. But our building is not built with the next very important aspect of the circularity, and this is that we design for deconstruction in order to be increasing then also the availability of reclaimed wood. So that so-called design for disassembly is a topic we are heavily involved, and we are working on trying to change that the buildings we will not build anymore for thousands of years, or at least hundreds of years, but actually for a determined time frame, and that we will be actually able to reduce all these materials. But since we don't have a lot of time, I would just like to use this opportunity. And besides InnoRenew, I'm also part of University of Primorska. And we have several students from Latin America. And as mentioned before, this is a photo that was at the previous event. The students came with me. We were doing a joint presentation. They're still all with us. And we we're really pleased that even some of them, they speak fluent Slovene. It's amazing. So they at least they say to us that they would like to stay with us longer. But if I go like now to the with each of them a bit, so there is a student, Blas Fernandez, who is a PhD student, and he first came for Erasmus exchange, and then he decided to come back. And he's also an assistant at Department of Mathematics and young researcher, so we believe he will stay with us longer. Then we have another mathematician, also a doctoral student, who he arrived in 3 years, now it's already 3 years ago, and is also employed at the Department of Mathematics. In computer science, we have a student from Mexico, and he's also employed with university. So all of these, they will slowly be finishing their degrees, and we have another from Columbia, the mathematical science PhD student. And we hope that if they don't stay with us and they go back to their home countries, that they will be coming back to us and establishing collaborations with us. But just for the end, would like to invite you to international conference that InnoRenew and the University of Primorska together we are hosting in September 2022, and is called Wood Rise, which is in the frame of a Wood Rise Alliance. In the name itself already says it's about tall timber buildings. Our conference will focus on renovation and restoring of the urban built buildings with the use of wood. And it's expected around 1,000 people to participate. And I'm pretty sure that also in your regions you have companies that might be interested to be doing also the presentation of their solutions, and of course to also be establishing collaborations with research as well, industrial environment in the field of tall timber buildings. With that, I would like to thank you. I hope I wasn't too long. Sometimes when I start talking, it's hard to have a feeling of the time, but I'm looking forward to any discussions.
Thank you very much, Mrs. Kutner. As you see, you have actually seen a part of the Slovenian Mediterranean coast. So Slovenia is also a Mediterranean country, and on the other side is the Latin Americas. Yeah, you are invited, of course, now to to question our speakers, to question about the priorities, about the whatever you wish. So Professor Anderluch and Dr. Kutner are actually available for any questions you might have. Anybody wants to break the ice? Otherwise, I can say that you have heard from the National Institute of Chemistry. It was mentioned, of course, that they are also actually doing a lot on the green hydrogen. Green hydrogen is one of the European priorities nowadays, and will be probably a kind of a new technology the European Union will push very strongly in next few years. So there we have some experts in this area, and we can also discuss about that if somebody wishes. And Dr. Kutner has also mentioned New European Bauhaus, which is a very new idea of the new Commission, and of course the President of the Commission, Mrs. Ursula von der Leyen. This is, in my opinion, if I would like to put it very, very, let's say, how to put it, not very sophisticated way, I would say it's a new way of cohabitation that we would like to build in Europe. And as Mrs. Kutner has said, beautiful, sustainable, of course. Any questions now? Of course, there will be still some time after all the presentations at the end, and we can have a very broad discussion afterwards. If not at this point, at this moment, then we will go to the second part of today's session, digital transition. And in this area, we have two distinguished speakers, Professor John Taylor from Irkai. Irkai is International Research Center of Artificial Intelligence under the auspices of Unesco that was established in Slovenia. And the second speaker will be my colleague from the ministry, Mrs. Karolina Schlegel, who will talk about the Slovenian projects in this area. She will tell us something more about HPC and Slovenian part of that Vega that was just recently opened. But now, first of all, I would like to ask Mr. Shave Taylor to present us Irkai and its contribution to the digital transition in Europe. So, Professor Taylor, the word is yours.
Thank you very much, and it's an honor to be part of this event, and thank you for the invitation. So I will try to give you just a few insights into what we've been doing within this International Research Center on Artificial Intelligence, and in particular, the theme of its contributions to the European digital transition. Perhaps it's a little bit of background first. Irkai is part of a wider ecosystem. It's actually currently a department in the Josef Stefan Institute, and it also builds on work that I'll mention briefly in networks of excellence in machine learning that were organized across Europe. And following those, the establishment of a charity known as the Knowledge for All Foundation, which is a joint UK-Slovenian initiative, startups in Slovenia and the UK, University College London, where I also hold a position, and also links with international organizations. So just in terms of that ecosystem, the Network of Excellence was known as Pascal, which was a network of excellence working to develop machine learning within Europe. It was quite a large network of 60 institutions, and I think was quite influential in promoting machine learning, not only as a discipline in itself, but also with sister disciplines and encouraging, for example, computer vision to adopt machine learning techniques, which have, very much transformed that field and led to the very significant advances that we've seen with deep learning and so on, making a very strong impact, but also in natural language processing. I think it's fair to say that we've also been quite influential in open educational resources by establishing the so-called videolectures.net site. That was one of the actions of the Pascal network, which was established at the Josef Stefan Institute in Slovenia, and is one of the largest portals of open educational resources, storing many summer school recordings, workshops, conferences, and so on. It also, as I'll mention in a moment, led to the link with UNESCO. And as I mentioned earlier, the Knowledge for All is the charity that was established as a legacy of the Pascal network and has been helping to establish a network of AI experts in sub-Saharan Africa. So this is the first UNESCO AI Center, and it's addressing, its aim is to see what the application of AI can achieve towards the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals, and it's funded by the Slovenian government and follows a tradition of AI within Slovenia that goes back to the 1970s. So the relationship with UNESCO, as I mentioned, arose mainly initially through this videolectures.net site, which was the winner of the World Summit Award, UNESCO Award in 2009, and actually then a follow-up kind of, let's say, Time Award in 2013. But it's also led to Irkai personnel involving in a number of UNESCO activities. So there was a Mitya Yermol, who became a UNESCO chair in open educational resources and open learning in 2014, and Colin de la Higuera, who became chair in technologies for teacher training in open educational resources in 2017, and myself, who became a chair in artificial intelligence in 2018. But we've also, with the help and with the guidance of the Slovenian government, been quite influential in developing awareness of open educational resources and UNESCO involvement in that, with initially a congress in Ljubljana that we helped to organize in 2017, and then one of the drivers of this recommendation on open educational resources, which was adopted in 2019. And we've also been involved in the recommendation that is being developed on the ethics of artificial intelligence, which is hopefully going to be adopted this year in November at the UNESCO Assembly. We had our Irkai launch. The Irkai was formally launched just at the end of March. And this is just a list of the people who attended our obviously online launch. So it's very international presence with a lot of attendance from right across the globe, including South America, though we would have liked to have seen more attendance from South America, but nonetheless, it was present, and we hope to develop relations with South America. As I said, one of the main aims is to connect AI and sustainable and digital economy. And at Irkai, we believe that AI can play a very significant role in helping to deliver that, let's say, carbon neutrality and many other aspects of sustainable development. We're also involved in a number of the policy areas, particularly the regulation on a European approach to artificial intelligence, as well as the UNESCO recommendation that I mentioned a moment ago. This is just an example of the kind of things that we have been doing before the establishment of the center itself. This is through the Knowledge for All Foundation that I mentioned, this transfer from the EU into sub-Saharan Africa. And we've been funding micro projects there, for example, looking at cracking the language barrier for multilingual Africa and how AI can assist in developing language technologies and potentially machine translation of African languages. So there's a number of researchers that have been funded with assistance, I should mention, from the Canadian Development Agency, the International Development Research Center in Canada. So these are just some of the projects that we have funded through that activity. So the reasons that we're, I think, a useful collaborator for the European Commission is that we bring a unique capabilities to the table, particularly the access to governments through UNESCO beyond Europe. And certainly the Slovenian government has been very helpful in promoting this, and we have worked with the Slovenian government and through them, being able to contact, for example, the UNESCO member states. We're also looking at access to international policy networks, and we are actively engaged in a number of these, again, with the assistance of Slovenia. GPI is one, the OECD, where Marko Grobelnik, who is a key member of the team at Irkai, is leading the development of an AI observatory for the OECD. Also in the Council of Europe, the development of AI guidance for the protection of human rights. Clearly UNESCO in our role as a UNESCO center and with the United Nations. But we're also aiming to be a link between researchers in Europe and more internationally. And we're hoping to develop, as I'll mention in a minute, a more international network of centers looking at how AI can impact sustainable development. So I'll say more about that in a little while. And we believe that through this, we can also promote European values within this network, and particularly in the approach to AI, in thinking about ethical aspects of AI, policy for AI, and its impact on human rights and the well-being of humanity. So we have a number of programs of cooperation, and we'd like to sort of invite partners to engage with us. We have a science program looking at developing core science about the application of AI to sustainable development. We're in the process of setting up a scientific journal. We're developing a funding program that will fund both research and potentially spin out companies that will take solutions and implement them at scale, and a capacity building program for developing skills and showcasing particularly the potential, but also the ethical aspects of AI, and then the potential of a validation program looking at how we may be able to certify solutions as high quality and ethically and exhibiting ethical properties. So here are 4 particular things related to the European digital transition, which I'll mention very briefly. Again, I don't want to dwell in much detail. If there are questions, obviously I'll try to answer them in the follow-up. We're going to be, so the Congress on the Governance of AI, the network of centers in EU and beyond, and certification and audit mechanism I just mentioned, and the digital education content framework. So these are just 4 examples of engagements that we're building with European bodies. So I'll mention very briefly a little about them. So as you're probably aware, of course, Slovenia will be acting as the EU presidency in the second half of this year, and there will be a number of events, and particularly looking at AI and education in one, and we are looking to involve other Directorate General DGs in that event, and to aim to harmonize with other EC counterparts, particularly the Council of Europe and the Unesco recommendation, the ethics of AI. This building of a network, I think, is something we're very excited and is close to our hearts. We would very much like to build a strong international presence in between centers looking at how AI can impact sustainable development. And this links with the European Sustainable Development and AI Action. And we aim to promote European values in AI tools in education, which we've been developing, cross-language and enriching of content, and sustainability and ethical responsibility of AI systems in education. This idea of AI certification is, as I've mentioned, linked very closely to the policy aspects. And it's one thing to have a policy, it's another how you actually operationalize it. And we believe that by having AI look at itself, if you like, develop AI systems that are able to monitor and analyze AI systems and describe them along key normative dimensions, we'll be able to have much more effective implementation of policy directives. So this is something we would be keen to see built and to contribute to the building of. And finally, this Irkai and the digital education content framework, something that's the European Commission is very keen to develop, and we believe that we can contribute quite significantly with a so-called observatory using AI tools and using deep analytics and monitoring and plan functionalities. We can create a global observatory to understand what is developing in terms of the global, national, and local information relevant to education in sustainable development. So this is something that I believe, again, we would be very keen to develop, and there's initial indication from the European Commission that there's interest in our involvement in this. So in summary, Irkai, I think, brings a new dimension among EU AI centers. It has a potential to bring greater engagement internationally, particularly in relation to applications to sustainable development, policy and ethical aspects of AI, and in this creating of a global partnership in addressing the key challenges of our age. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mr. Shave-Taylor. And yes, of course, artificial intelligence is also one of the Slovenian priorities during our presidency in the second half of the year. Many ministries will collaborate in this area, so there will be another possibility for Irkai to be visible and to also contribute to the program of our presidency. Now we will go to Mrs. Karolina Schlegel, my colleague from the ministry, who will tell us about the HPC and its Slovenian outspring Vega. Please, Karolina, the floor is yours.
Yes, good evening. I would like to ask if you see the presentation.
Yes, it is seen, yes.
Just a moment, something's not working. Okay. Do you see the presentation now?
It's better, yeah.
Okay. Okay, good evening and welcome to the introduction of the supercomputer Vega. As Peter said, my name is Karolina Schlegel and I come from the Ministry of Education, Science and Sport, where I work in the field of planning, implementing and co-financing of big research infrastructures. Vega is the first installed Euro-HPC supercomputer and the largest supercomputer in Slovenia. It is hosted by the Institute of Information Science, ISUM, a public institution established by the government and also responsible for maintenance and support of the system. Other major responsibility of ISUM is research and development of library automation information system called COBIS, which represents collaboration platform with system and application infrastructure and supported services to more than 1,000 libraries across Slovenia and also several countries in Balkans. According to our research and innovation strategy, national research infrastructure roadmap and smart specialization, high-performance computing is one of the national priority areas. So, back in 2018, we started the project named HPC River, aiming to establish a high-performance computing center. University of Maribor, ISUM, and Faculty of Information Science participated in the project. The project was co-funded by the European Union through the European Regional Development Fund within the operational program for the implementation of the European Cohesion Policy 14-20, and of course by the Ministry of Education, Science and Sport. And supercomputer Vega, named after Slovenian mathematician, was, let's say, born. In 2019, the European High Performance Computing Joint Undertaking launched its first calls for expression of interest to select the sites that will host the Joint Undertaking's first supercomputers. These are petascale and precursors to exascale machines in 2020. And ISUM, in collaboration with Slovenian supercomputing network consortium called SLING, applied for the Euro-HPC tender and was as one of the 8 sites for the supercomputer centers across the European Union selected to host one of the first European supercomputers. Experts from ISUM, Josef Stefan Institute and ARNES jointly managed to define architecture and processed the procurement of HPC Vega, supplied by company Atos, and the investment was of 17.2 million euro. In March 2021, HPC Vega passed the second test, and the official start of the supercomputer was 2 days ago, on April 20. I'm sure you saw in the news. Regarding requirements of this project, it was decided that ISUM takes all the responsibilities as the hosting entity. Because the building itself is big enough, they already host National Harness Network backbone node for Eastern Slovenia, and some other very important requirements like energy efficiency and value for money, like high performance, low OPEX, were considered. HPC Vega is now placed into 2 system rooms with approximately 100 square meters. Power consumption is around 1 megawatt. System has more than 130,000 CPU cores and 240 GPUs. Max is 6.8 petaflops, and system has overall more than 20 petabytes. And in this year, connection to the internet with 500 gigabits per second is planned. About system architecture, HPC Vega is based on the cutting-edge technology with multi-purpose system architecture. I won't go in details because all the technical details are available on the ISUM's webpage, so please visit that page. About research domains, the Vega supercomputer increased the computing power available in Slovenia and in Europe as a whole. And it will support European researchers and users from the public and industry sector, wherever they are in Europe. As it was co-founded by the EuroHPC, 35% of overall capacities are used by applicants for EuroHPC calls, and the rest, 65% of capacities, are in use for Slovenian researchers and development in industry, where main research domains are machine learning, artificial intelligence, bioinformatics, biomolecular and material simulations, non-equilibrium, quantum, and physical, statistical physics, particle physics, and many other. So, to conclude, Vega is an example of a common vision supported by different sources of funding and an excellent cooperation of institutions. And we believe and we hope that this project will provide the opportunity for Slovenian and European researchers to work together on a number of new international research ideas, helping to deal with societal challenges and contributing to sustainable development through science. Thank you for your attention, and please, for other technical details and or other things, please visit ISUM webpage or HPC River or Slink webpage. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Carolina. Now this part of digital transition is actually finished with our 2 speakers, and now let me ask if there are some questions from the participant side. Any question here? Yeah, I must say that we are particularly proud that the first HPC in European Union was actually open in Slovenia just a few days ago, and Carolina was very much involved in that. And it will really serve as one of the large infrastructures in Slovenia and also in the region of Balkans and Southeastern Europe. So I think that these 2 cases of Irkai and HPC Vega show that Slovenia, despite the fact that it's a small country, can actually contribute a lot in the intelligence area, artificial intelligence in this case, and could be a very reliable European and international global partner here. Any questions, any comments from the colleagues, speakers? Yes, Director, Professor.
Maybe just a comment. Well, actually, a congratulation, really, more than a comment, to the ministry. We were really very happy that a couple of days ago, this startup of Vega computer It's really an important research infrastructure of Slovenia. We are really very excited that institutions that will be able to use our institute, for example, was already active when the pilot scheme was set up. We already use this infrastructure. It's a very good example on how a strategic investment of resources helps developing other research areas. For example, we cannot do a proper cryo-electron microscopy and analysis of biological molecule structure without support that is offered now by Vega. So it was a very smart move by Slovenia, and it will make our institutions much more competitive and able to offer additional research areas and expertise to national and international partners. So congratulations really again for this achievement.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Director, for that. Well, it is also a case how a small country like Slovenia can, within the European Union, much bigger entity, of course, develop a large research infrastructure that is multi-layer and multidisciplinary and can help, of course, to develop faster very different research areas in Slovenia, but also in the region. So we hope that there will be more and more such cases, not only in Slovenia, but also in the region and in whole European Union, and that by doing that, by building such infrastructure, we will be able to be even more competitive on the global scale. And yeah, digital transition is definitely the process that is fostering very fast, developing very fast, and we have to be actually competitive in this area as well. Some other questions, comments? If not, if this is not the case, then we can proceed to the next chapter or part of today's session. And we have here two topics. Actually, first we will present, Mr. Painter will present the Slovenian participation in the European public-private partnership factories of the future, which is more than 1 billion euro, let's say, heavy European project. And this is also one of the priority areas in European Union. So how to develop the factories of the next generation, and how these modern factories and business could also be adapted to the criteria of the sustainable development and green transition. So please, Mr. Painter, the floor is yours, and please present us the project you are cooperating with.
Well, I'm Rudy Painter. I'm coming from Josef Stefan Institute, where I'm the head of the Center for Factories of the Future. And at the same time, I'm also the manager of SRIP Factories of the Future. So just a few words about Josef Stefan Institute. Josef Stefan Institute is the largest institute in Slovenia. We have 1,078 employees, among them 510 PhD scientists, 424 with bachelor degree, and we do a lot of projects every year. And also we are leading and contributing in the many European projects, Horizon, Interreg, and so on. So the main research areas are physics, chemistry, molecular biology and biotechnology, information technologies with artificial intelligence, automation and robotics, reactor physics and technology, energy, and environment. So we also have international postgraduate school where we have different study programs, nanosciences, nanotechnologies, ICT, ecotechnologies, sensor technologies. And we have also now introduced new study program, digital transformation. Please, next slide. And let me say what is Slovenian Smart Specialization Strategy is an operational plan facilitating the shift to high productivity economy through boosting innovation potential, fostering structural transformation and industrial diversification, and supporting growth of new and fast-growing companies. Slovene Smart Specialization Strategy has 3 pillars, and digital, circular, Industry 4.0. Around these pillars, we have established strategic research partnerships covering 9 priority domains. Priority industry value chains are knowledge supported by academia and politically supported through specialized calls fostering innovations from Tier 3 to Tier 9. Next slide, please. And what is the role of Josef Stefan Institute in this smart specialization, Slovenian smart specialization strategy? Well, SRIP Factories of the Future has 5 technologies which contributes to the key ATs. And also, Josef Stefan Institute is a coordinator of 2 SRIPs. So SRIP's Factories of the Future and SRIP Smart Towns and Communities. And we are providing key enabling technologies to all other SRIPs. So please, next slide. And here is the structure we have. So SRIP Factories of the Future is innovation cluster powered by 4 beneficiaries. You are seeing here, this one is Chamber of Commerce, Competence Center of Systems and Technologies of Control, and also Josef Stefan Institute and TECOS. This is a tooling cluster. So they are all beneficiaries are actually clusters. So structure is further divided to 8 vertical value chains, where there are mainly companies within same market domain, and horizontal networks where 6 key AT provide knowledge to an early stage to vertical value chains. So there are also different common services available for all members. Traditionally, each domain is banded to one prevailing kit, but within this metric structure, each vertical has possibility to interact with many key ATs, enhancing the domain knowledge. So please, next slide. So with this, I'm just trying now to describe all the technologies we are using, so that shortly I will show also the impact of the technologies to the circular economy in each of it. So we have robot technologies, and we are for the next generation industry. We have also key topics are robot manufacturing, advanced robotic components, sensors, actuators, advanced robotic systems, cobots, cognitive robots, advanced robotic vision and vision sensors, and advanced cooperative robot cells. And robotics is well developed in Slovenia with over 170 robots per 10,000 employees. A new established Yaskava production plant in Slovenia, the first in Europe, will be a catalyst to upgrade Slovenian robotics value chain to a strong hub or even future specialized cluster. Please, next slide. So we are specialized mainly in self-configurable and adaptive robot cells. With a successful project Reconcile, which was led by Josef Stefan Institute, it was H2020 project. We are continuing in using this technology in a Reconcile project. This is the aim of the project, is to introduce self-reconfigurable hardware and software to disassembly of electronic devices based on reconfigurable robotic cell developed in Reconcile project. So within 3D vision and also self-adaptive cells, we can manage a lot of different electronic waste for disassembly. So there are some some other samples which are mainly used in industry applications. Most of them are in pilot stage, but some of them are already in production. Please, next slide. So the next technology is photonics. So we are covering photonics from Tier 1 to Tier 9. And we're having two divisions in this area. One is mainly focused on industry, and the second on medical devices. Please, next slide. And here are some samples. So the focus areas: a new concept of laser sources, new principles of laser digital processing of industrial materials, new principle of using photonics for medical regeneration, therapy, surgery, and personalized diagnostics and production technologies in photonics. Please, next slide. So this is one of the products for industry, laser transfer printing. It is a kind of innovation and the first of this kind product in the world. Please, next slide. So there's lasers in medicine, for example, alexandrite laser with E-loop scanning system. It is a product which was made in cooperation within a GOSTA project, where also a large company for a laser, a very known company, Photonics, was also involved, one of the partners. So in the partnership, this E-loop scanning alexandrite laser was developed. And the second, it was smart YAG system, and this was new optical system for ophthalmology laser, and it's also a patented one, and it's a result of the GOSTA project. Please, next slide. And also we are introducing and having also atmospheric cold plasma technologies, and they represent a key technological breakthrough in modern industry. So we can global use is growing at around 15% per annum, and the driving force is the need for innovative products, the ecological integrity of technologies, and high added value. So here are all the areas when we can use plasma, and within this we can add a new value to the products in these areas. Please, next slide. And we are focus areas are smart plasma systems, so high-tech automatic smart plasma system for continuous production, and plasma technologies for decontamination, disinfection, and sterilization. We can use food sterilization, water sterilization, and introduction of plasma technologies into non-conventional niches. It is they are getting a very wide use in medicine, so in let's say also in dental medicine. So what are the goals? Higher added value products and competitiveness on the market, and we do not use any more chemical processes, so we are substituted some very destroying chemical processes for the environment with the plasma. So this way the production goes green, and we produce cheaper and faster. So cold plasma is a kind of a very, very prospective green technology. Please, next slide. So also we are producing, and our partners are producing smart sensors, and these smart sensors are substantial for sensing the environment, and we are producing advanced micro and nano sensors for process control, 3D sensor systems, smart nano biochemo sensors in the environment, industry, and medicine, and advanced electrochemical sensors for virus detection. This is our new topic, and also smart plasma sensors, where we have also make a patent pending for this the first kind of this sensor on the world. So smart sensors are the basis for capturing measurable data and their further digitalization. Please, next slide. And also the advanced materials and modern production methods for materials and nanotechnologies are very, very important. So within advanced materials, we are very focused on magnetic materials with minimum amount of rare earth. So this is very, very important for a new technologies for producing well in mobile sector. So because magnets are used in electric motors. And environmentally friendly materials for protective elements in electrical and electronic devices, and functional coatings for different materials. And then we have also modern production methods for materials and nanotechnologies. So we are introducing quantum technologies as a new very prospective technology and very future oriented, and nanotechnologies for coatings and surfaces, components in Industry 4.0 based on the materials, and introduction of PVD technologies in industry. So also nanotechnologies for environment and resource management. Please, next slide. Here are some samples of modern production technologies. So insulating materials, it is a study of glass foaming mechanisms, and we have a glass foaming technology, which is leading to materials with very good temperature characteristics, and we also improving recycled opportunities of the use of secondary raw materials in the glass production processes. Then there are some antibacterial biomaterials which are used for different protection, in vitro properties, and efficient synthesis and processing of the biomaterials through characterization of material properties. Then we have also electronic materials of different based on ceramic and ceramics with pressure sensors and varistors and so on. Please, next slide. So there are some other magnetic materials where we also study recycling of high energy magnets, and this is also we are studying 3D printing of complex shapes based on magnetic materials and complex alloys. And there I have mentioned also varistor ceramic, and also many use of nanoparticles and nanocomposites in various applications. Please, next slide. So another is intelligent industrial automation management systems, which are the heart of every company. At the end, if you are going green, and if you are going green in a factory, then it is still a factory. And we have to connect the system together, the technologies together. And here are some topics we are working on, and what are very important topics for also to twin transition. It is industrial IoT and artificial intelligence in systems management and optimization. So this way we are spending energy in complex system. We are spending less energy, and we consume less other energies, and this way we are producing less CO2 impact of the company and of the system. And also what is very important is digital twins in technical processes, where we are designing digital twins of the real systems, and this way we are controlling and very easy adapting a real system towards the data collected through the digital systems. So the next slide, please. And there are some examples: a platform for multi-agent control based on IoT sensors, and communication agent and diagnostic system for end-of-line quality assessment. There are some examples. Maybe I will give this presentation to the organizer, and you can read it by yourself. I will not explain this in details. Please, next slide. So, and then all these technologies together are then coming to the smart factory. And also within the smart factory, we are using evaluation of artificial intelligence methods in production, and development and implementation of automatically adjustable digital twins. And what is our goal? The holy grail of the smart factory is the concept of self-adaptive and self-learning architecture on the agent-based decision-making system at the factory level, so that these factories can learn, and also they can adjust to the incidents and everything done with as much as less of human control. So we are working very hard to make also Industry 4.0 demonstration nodes network. So the next slide, please. And what we have built is a demonstration of the concept of the distributed system. It is a demo factory, a small demo plant in Faculty of Machine Engineering, and where we can demonstrate this concept of the smart factory, so, and also digital twin and smart manual assembly workstation with collaborative robot. And also this is demonstration center, which serves also for research and development, education and training of students, project work and testing field, and also education and workshop for the industrial partners. But this is very, very small one, and we are working hard to make a demo center on the national level, which will be much larger and much more oriented to different industries. The next slide. We are also working on certain projects where we are working on transition to circular economy based on key enabling technologies and digitalization. I said and digitalization because already what was mentioned, and it was mentioned twin transition, and they say green and digital, but it's not only green and digital, because all other technologies are also involved. But digital is only a help to get the data and to present the data, but all other technologies are always involved. So the C generates 4 technological needs: advanced collection, sorting, recycling. So this, we need applications, sensors, and robots. And then also we need efficient processing of materials. So we need machine learning, artificial intelligence, nanotechnologies, the knowledge of materials. And also there is a production and support of circularity. So we need 3D printing, disassembly, repair. And also we need interactive platforms. So we need applications, websites, databases, EOT platforms, and so on. So that all these technologies exist. The challenge is how to make them achievable and systematically integrate them in ways that enable environment and economy, sustainable business models of the companies. So the next slide, please. Next slide, please. Okay. We are partner of one of the Alpine Space Interact programs named Circular 4.0, where we are doing just this. So how to make C transition, and at the same time also the transition to the smart factory. We are focused on 3 circular models, so circular design, optimal use, and value recovery. So please, next slide. And within, we are developing a methodological approach. And after that, we are also developing the training process. So we are training the people how to make this transition, and how to so mentorship the SMEs to make this transition happen, because we know that every company is individual problem, not problem, but a challenge. And with the circular assessment, and also with Industry 4.0 maturity assessment, and combining these two, we are trying to define and see and bring the path to the SMEs how to start with this twin transition in an efficient way, and that there is a economical also goal beside. So next slide, please.
Please finish.
And this is all from my side. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you very much. Yeah, I mean, Institute Josef Stefan is, of course, the largest institute in Slovenia. Therefore, the presentation was a bit longer than expected. But yeah, there are so many things to actually to tackle and to inform you about what is happening in Slovenia in the area of research and innovation. You can see that despite the fact that Slovenia is a small country, it's a very vivid country, and the capital of knowledge is the only unlimited capital we have in the world. And that's why we can have a lot of long discussions and also substantial discussions. Okay, are there any questions at this point? Maybe because the next presentation will be very different from this one. Okay, then we can still have questions after. Our next speaker is Mrs. Mateja Grego from the Marine Biological Station in Piran in Slovenia. And she will share with us today an experience about the citizen science project, which started as a trio presidency project. Trio presidency means German, Portuguese, and Slovenian presidency, and you will see that it is really something different because it engages, of course, citizens, and in this case, these are children. So please, Mateja, the floor is yours.
Yes, thank you, Peter. My name is Mateja Grego. I come from National Institute of Biology, Marine Biology Station Piran, and I would like to present you the Plastic Pirates Go Europe project. It is very interesting that the start of this project goes back a few years ago, and it's as a result of a collaboration with Chile and Germany, so Latin America and Europe, where the school children were assessing were following the pathway of plastic litter along Chilean and German coast. And at the end of this project, the German partners then developed this protocol with school children, with citizens, of investigating riverine litter. So this project goes on in Germany since 2016. And the German Minister of Education and Research was so fond of this project that she proposed it as a joint action of the trio presidency of the EU Council in 2021. So now we are all together, the Germans, the Portuguese, and us in this project. And moreover, we are also working with the EU Commission to extend it to all European member states. So that would hopefully be implemented in the following years under the mission Starfish 230. Why investigate plastic litter in rivers? It's obvious. The rivers contribute a lot to the marine litter, especially the Asian rivers, and more so. Estimations are about tons here, 1 million tons, but actually the microplastic from the wastewaters and other sources are even more important source of litter coming into the sea. In marine litter is very well researched and receives a lot of media attention, while riverine litter, the macro and micro, is still quite an unknown area. And this is what we are trying to assess on a large scale in this project. But we also want want for the citizen to know that the sea starts at the river, but also everywhere, because we're all connected with the sea by the air we breathe, by the food we eat, and by the usage of the sea to transportation or holidays and so on. Why citizen science? Well, citizen science works with and for society. For scientists, it's really appropriate to get such a large geographical coverage, which we could not in a short time frame, which we could not, like a small group of scientists could not assess in such a time scale. For example, well, Germany has now around 800 data sets from schools. And in Slovenia, in 1 month, when we start to promote the project, we already have 101 schools that applied to take part in the project and to sample their own river. With this project, we want to enhance scientific literacy, and also it's important to educate for sustainable development. But what does the school children, what do they get in this project? They learn how to collect data, how to employ scientific methods, how to familiarize with scientific careers. They get new expert knowledge, and hopefully this will be reflected in their own behavior. They will spread the word amongst their families and friends, and some of them will initiate political processes, or we will do so. So this project is about teamwork, and the mentors are in between the scientists and the school children. From the talks I heard before, the citizen science projects, other citizen science projects are more focused on an individual because, for example, with technology, we can also do a lot. We can take pictures of jellyfish, of different plants or different diseases. With development of sensors, this would be even more challenging, or we will maybe be able to use more citizen science. But the starts of citizen science go back in the 19th century with the ornithologists who studied bird migration, and the scientists used their data. And now the plastic is more common than birds, and it's much easier to identify. So I think this project is really up to date for our time. We developed the teaching material in the project that it's meant for teachers, but it has also exercises, and the chapters are about water and sea and food webs in the sea, then the pollution of the sea, the usage of the sea, and what does plastic waste do in the sea, but also over to you, where they learn also what we heard in other talks, how to not close the circle, because plastic does not have a closed circle, but at least how to prolong this circle, to reuse a plastic bottle to grow plants, or to do some aquaponics, or to do some art material. So at least they can do that, and of course reduce the usage of plastic. We know that the great problem in the seas is the microplastic, and that the plastic is part also of the food web, and that it's found in the most remote sediments and animals that live there, like in the Mariana Trench at 11,000 meters depth. So we really want to bring this to the children and to the mentors, and also the mentors will then adapt our vision, and they will also educate future generations, not just this generation now. So these materials are online to download in English, German, Portuguese, and Slovenian, and hopefully they will be soon also prepared in all European languages, also Spanish. There is this project booklet that leads the groups to sample on the common protocol. And what we like, the scientists like with this approach, with citizen science, because the sampling is random. We normally choose a sampling location and based on the hypothesis, but here we really have random sampling. So the school teachers choose the stream or the river on their own without our help. So we get random data. We don't really choose the sampling location. Okay, so the school children are divided in 4 groups, and each group has a certain task. The first group collects waste in circles of 7 square meters at the river edge, 3 at the river bank, and 3 on top of the river bank. Each time they take photographs of this litter and mark the place. And then the scientists will verify this data by the visual, by the photographies. And then the group B will walk along the river and collect plastic. Of course, they will mark the distance and from the river and along the river, so they can calculate then per square meter how much litter was found and what sort of litter, and especially what was the ratio of single-use plastic to all plastic and to all litter, because single-use plastic is the most problematic, because plastic is also a good material for certain use. In the group C, we send the microplastic net to the school, and they leave the school for 1 hour in the stream or in the river, and then they sort the microplastic, or they send us to so that we sort, and then we analyze for the type of plastic. And group B basically reports and marks the GPS location and tries to identify what is the source of this plastic. Either it's agriculture or dumpings or visitors and so on. So these are the results. They upload the tables, which we then verify and analyze microplastics. And then these results are showed as metadata on the map. So each group is actually on the map. So Germany has really already a lot of data, while Slovenia and Portugal have one because we just started the project. The findings in Germany were of course a lot of plastic and cigarette butts, but the children also found the hotspot of microplastic pellets in an urbanized area. So the researchers went back to sample again, and indeed an industry was releasing this in the environment. I would like to invite you, especially maybe the ambassador could help us spread the word, that in June we have a webinar for teachers all over the world, and we will we'll present this on our website, so please visit, and thank you for your attention.
Thank you very much, Matea. It was a very lovely presentation and very sympathetic one. Do we have any questions for Matea or for Mr. Painter? Are there any questions, comments? Yeah, I mean, I can just inform you that, of course, this is a project of trio presidencies, so also the Slovenian presidency, which already takes place, which is already happening. So Slovenia already presides together with Portugal and Germany in this project. And I can also inform you that this project will soon grow into the European project. So many other member states, many other countries, even non-member states, would like to join to this very sympathetic project. And we are now having discussions with the European Commission how to upgrade this project into the really European, all European project. Okay, thank you very much. The time is running very fast. And if there are no other questions, the presentations were obviously very, very clear and very precise. Now it's time to move to the last chapter of today's session. And now we will have two colleagues from the European Commission from two different DGs. And first, I would like to welcome Mr. Daniel Chiapes from DG R&I to tell us how in his work actually the plans for the EU Latin America countries cooperation is envisaged and planned. So Daniel, please, the floor is yours.
Yes, thank you very much. It is indeed a pleasure to be here at this event. I think it is a lovely event and we saw great presentations. I'm very glad to have been invited to this group. So thanks a lot for that. I will try quickly sharing my screen. Hopefully it will work. Let me quickly see. It should be this one. I hope you can see the slides.
We have it, yes. Thank you.
So I will just approach it from a slightly different perspective, because here in the team where I work, actually we are coordinating our cooperation with the LAC region in the area of research and innovation. So to just briefly sort of summarize the context within which this initiative has developed, and then move on to the latest developments, latest news, and also the next steps for the next couple of years. So just to understand a little bit how the Horizon Europe Framework Program is designed in this context, there is one fundamental design philosophy here, which is openness to the world. This actually goes back to the previous framework program, which was Horizon 2020, and the famous 3 O's which we had there, which was open science, open innovation, and open to the world. And that's where it was formally introduced as one of the biggest, let's say, building blocks of the framework program. And this continues also in Horizon Europe. So this openness to cooperation is a basic philosophy here.
Now, of course, there are some issues around some sensitive areas. Maybe there can be some limitations at the level of calls, but the general approach is always this openness where we invite international partners to cooperate with us on these research projects and so on. So by default, all the international partners are encouraged to participate. In some areas, we have specific calls which favor some regions. For instance, Latin America, we have specific interest in some areas, but even those which are not targeted specifically to some territories, even those are generally open to participants from abroad. So with Latin America, we have established what we call a joint initiative on research and innovation, which is also called JIRI. This goes back to 2010. There was a summit, the EU-SELAC summit, which established this. And it is basically a framework for dialogue between both regions in how we cooperate on research and innovation. So this is usually done through regular meetings of senior officials from ministries, from national administrations, from agencies, who convene usually every 2 years, with some exceptions, to discuss the joint priorities about what we should be focusing on. These meetings usually review also the progress achieved since the previous meeting. So they are quite important in establishing actually what our joint priority should be and how well we are performing towards our goals. Now, in this context, in this JIRI context, we have launched what we call a common research area, which is a little bit inspired by the European research area, of course, but taken to this bi-regional dimension. And for this common research area, we started by designing these 3 main pillars. And there was a lot of discussion here today, which touches actually on all 3 main pillars. Later on, we also extended it by including innovation. Now, the first one obviously was the mobility of researchers, which is a very attractive topic. Research infrastructures, I think after the presentations today, the excellent, beautiful presentations today, I think everybody understands the importance of research infrastructures in this. And then the third one was the global challenges and the goals which we have also in both regions in this area. So this is more or less the basic structure of a common research area between the EU and the LAC region. Now, the latest developments in this context, last year in October, we had one of these senior officials meetings. It was at the end of October. And this was after a short break since 2017. There were some difficulties, political difficulties. So it was a little bit, challenging to organize it. But in 2020, together with the presidency of CELAC, which is currently held by Mexico, we managed to renew this dialogue. And we had a great participation, almost more than 150 participants from 40 EU and CELAC countries participated in this event. So it was really very well attended, and it showed actually the interest on both sides in this dialogue. Now, in this meeting, the delegates negotiated this strategic roadmap for the next years. And this is a document, bi-regional document, which summarizes the priorities of both regions, what we want in EU and in CELAC to focus on in the next 2 or 3 years. Now, this provides a sort of framework about how we should direct our activities. And both sides mobilized as many members and organizations from their own constituencies as possible. So we had quite a good participation from our side, from the EU member states. The same was happening on the CELAC side. And they were involved in the drafting of the strategic roadmap since the very early phases. So it was a sort of a co-creation process. Now, one thing which always the senior officials meeting do is to review the progress since the previous one. Like I said, the one before was in 2017, so there was quite a lot of developments to cover. And among the most, let's say, attractive topics in these meetings are always, the first point is the mobility of researchers, and the second point are research infrastructures. In mobility of researchers, this is a huge part of the international cooperation because it's a very attractive part of it. And we already know that about 50% of all these participations from third countries are actually happening through this mobility of researchers, and especially through the Marie Sklodowska-Curie actions. So we see all these numbers about the high number of researchers from each side participating in these exchange programs. And this is very important because this kind of free flow of ideas is crucial to excellent science. This is a basis for excellent science. And The other basis of excellent science is, of course, the research infrastructures, because a major part of research globally is happening in research infrastructures. They are the generators of research. So it is absolutely essential for international cooperation to do this kind of linking or matching between infrastructures on both sides, to find partners from each side and to try to link them together. And in this context, we have actually quite a good number of results. We organize special study visits for managers of research infrastructures to visit the other sides, the other region, to learn what they are doing and so on. So this was quite a successful part. Now, one point which I already briefly mentioned is innovation, and that's something which is critical to both regions. So all participants recognize this as one of the most important points. And for that reason, the common research area, which originally only consisted of these 3 pillars, has been extended to also cover innovation as the 4th fundamental pillar. So this is the area which we will be focusing on in the next few years. We still have to figure out a little bit how that will work out in practice, but there is clear objective of developing this cooperation in innovation. Now, going to what was previously the 3rd pillar, which are the global challenges. There we have in the strategic roadmap, our focus is on these 4 main areas. And I think that we pretty much already covered a lot of them here in this discussion, because I remember there was a lot of talk about health research, green transition, digital, of course, and innovation. So these, for both regions, are actually very important objectives. And in this very brief chart, let's say, you can see how well both regions are aligned in these priorities. This is actually the participation of select countries in Horizon 2020 for the whole duration. And you can see that these topics like health, food, or environment are the most attractive by far for the LAC researchers. So those are the topics that they predominantly choose when they participate in Horizon 2020 projects. Now, of course, there are also topics like ICT, like information and communication technologies, but obviously the digital technologies cover basically the whole spectrum, because without digital technologies, I don't think that a majority of these research areas would advance far. So this is one of element which is basically transversal, all these areas. In health research, I mean, this is a clear priority these days, only because of the ongoing pandemic, which is really a big problem, not only in Europe, but also in the LAC region, but it also there seems to be a connection problem. So we have all this cooperation in the non-communicable diseases, cancer research, and so on. One item which was very, very highly underlined by the delegates is the connection towards, it was a connection to the existing networks which are already in place for various goals. For instance, the Chronic Disease Alliance, infectious disease prevention, collaboration, and so on. So that's a very important item. And finally, what was also emphasized during this meeting is the collaboration in exchange of data. Open access to data is one of the key requirements for this kind of research. So we have our own European data platform on COVID, for example, which is also open, which can be used by researchers from LAC. So this is a very important element. Now, in green transition, there were several points which were discussed. Obviously, like I said, and like you saw in the chart before, this is one of the most attractive items also to the LAC side. So these few items were the ones which were discussed, I think, most prominently. So everything related to wildfires, which have direct impact not only themselves, but also to the greenhouse gas emissions. Up to 20% of the greenhouse gas emissions are actually caused by wildfires. And both regions have huge problems with that. So southern part of Europe is experiencing them regularly. Last year, we also saw the stories coming from Brazil, from Bolivia. So this is a huge problem which should be tackled. Again, like I mentioned, it's everything related to agriculture and sustainability of the agriculture and so on. I think that also marine research is something which will be very high on the agenda, has already been, but it will be even more intensive than before, because the link between both regions is clearly that's the Atlantic Ocean. It's something which we both share, LAC and the EU. So that should be very high on our agenda for the next years. Now, digital transformation, we spoke a lot about this. From our side, there are these main areas of cooperation ranging from infrastructure. It was already mentioned, I think briefly, the BELA cable, which is supposed to and which will link the EU with Latin America, and through the terrestrial link in the future, the rest of the region, which will be equally important. That means not only the connection between the two continents, between Portugal and Brazil, but also the extension of the cable, the terrestrial part, which will then connect the rest of the region, which is equally important, so that the whole LAC region can be reached by this cable. Because the BELA cable is a big enabler also of the research and innovation cooperation, because there we can use this additional capacity and connectivity to exchange data and to cooperate more closely between us, for instance, between research infrastructures. The second point is the joint work on digital standards. So definition and interoperability, which will be key for our own, let's say, interoperability between our systems. The third point is the digital skills, especially in the areas like big data, artificial intelligence. And final point, that's of course the issue of trust and security, which is a key element in all these digital systems, because without that, we cannot really properly safeguard our digital lives, our economy, and so on. So this is absolutely essential. Now, finally, there is also the question of open science, because open science...
Finish, please.
Yeah, okay, I will finish it very soon. So open science is something which is also a transversal topic for all these areas, and we should, work towards this openness in the way how we work with the scientific data produced, for instance, in research infrastructures and so on, exchange, etc. So this is the last point on my side. The next, let's say, steps will be the work program Horizon Europe, the first one, which will define or give insights into the first course of proposals, which will be very important to properly prepare for the first course, which will be coming up later this year. And the second one is a work with the national contact points, which in each country acts as sort of a link between the framework program and between the local scientific communities. So they are the ones who can also inform the communities about the opportunities, how they can participate, and work with them closely, to bring them closer to Horizon Europe. So that is it from our side. And if there are any questions, I'll be happy to answer.
Thank you very much. The last point was, of course, the network of the national contact points, and these are the networks in the member states, in all other third countries as well. In all countries, these networks are established, and these are actually the key networks that are actually also fostered and stimulated to communicate and collaborate with each other. So these national contact points are the key for the successful collaboration. I would just like to emphasize that. Okay, I would invite the next and the last speaker today in this session. This is Mark Litwin, or Litwine. I don't know what is the correct pronunciation. So,
Litwin is perfect.
Litwin is okay, fine. So the floor is yours, Mark, and we already see your presentation. Please.
Okay. I'm sorry. I will access a little bit the time because there is no way to do otherwise. I'm belonging to the DG Directorate General INSPA. It means Internal Partnership. And what is important in this directorate is that really we are fomenting partnerships. In the last informal ministerial meeting between the EU and Latin America and the Caribbean states, we announced the launch of a digital alliance. And this will be the object of my presentation now. I will go quite quickly so the people can go home afterwards and take their glass and sleep and rest and so on. But if there is any questions, I'm ready to answer by written orally after the presentation. This is really something we would like to do. The Digital Alliance is an example of something we can go beyond simply what we have in the past, development cooperation. It's really an example what should be our relation in the future, which is a win-win relation, and exactly what where we have a mutual benefit in the digital connectivity in Latin America is a strategic issues. It's very important. Without connectivity, there is no digital transformation. There is no Industry 4.0. The connectivity rate is increasing, but there is many gaps among the country, gaps within the countries. There is, for the moment, almost 37% of the population with no access to the wideband. But at the same time, this is a large opportunity for investors. And this is something we have to take in mind. Why these geostrategic issues? Because we have competitors in the world, in particular China, which is very aggressive, like for the moment, vaccine against buying our technology, 5G. We have also the Silicon Valley and so on. But what we can see is that Latin America has a rapid uptake of new technology. The increased access of broadband so that there is something we can take profit. At the same time, the rate of innovation within the private sector is far below the average in the rest of the world, especially Europe or Asia or the United States or Canada. But the productivity gaps is very high. SMEs has only 6% of the competitiveness of the large companies. Just bear in mind, those large fields in Argentina or in Brazil producing agricultural commodities and the very small, say, agriculture within the mountain in Bolivia. By example, in Europe, SMEs are 66% in average of a large European company. What we propose among the challenge, the opportunities, it's first digital literacy. There is a gap of 500,000 skilled workers in the IT sector in Latin America and in the Caribbean. And at the same time, there is no real mobility among the countries. So this is an opportunity to work. Public policy, they are updated. They are not adapted to the digital ages today. Public policy should be adapted. We are an example for public policy, by the way. Last year, we co-financed the Latin American Economic Outlook, and it shows how the EU is attractive in terms of public policy and how we could influence Latin America and create a real digital integration in this country. Cybersecurity. No country, my colleagues spoke about it, no country is cyber ready. I don't speak about cyber criminality, which is another subject, but cybersecurity is at the same time technical, but also all the problem of security of networks of something. Investment. The EU is the first investors in Latin America, and this is something we have to bear in mind and gave us quite a power. We are ready to invest more in this part of the world. 5G, we have an example of a very large knowledge of 5G. Artificial intelligence, we spoke about it during this meeting, but also internal of things and so on. What we have really as an advantage. First, our human-centric approach all over Europe is very attractive. This is something we are the only one able to create in the world. The European Union is the only one able to somehow control this kind of digital policies. We have a competitive advantage with our colleagues from RNI that are pushing the innovation. We have this digital single market, which is working well. Every body spoke before in this meeting about the collaboration with another European country, another European institute. The digital single market is a reality. And we have fruitful models of cooperation. So indeed, we propose to push the digital transformation between the European Union and Latin America by helping connectivity infrastructure. I speak mostly not on commercial infrastructure, but like we said, I'm in charge of the BELA-T, the terrestrial part of BELA, but increasing the possibility for innovation to use large possibility of data connection between Europe and Latin America and within Latin America. We can help them also to adopt regulatory standards, policy cooperation, digital skill through adequate public policy in Latin America. We already worked and we have some experience in Brazil, in Argentina, in Mexico, but other countries, even the smallest one, needs also to improve its public policy. The digital diplomacy is something we have all to increase. Our diplomatic networks, the Commission one or Member States one, are not very familiar with all the digital transformation agenda. And this is something we have to deal with, we have to learn. And also, one of our proposals is to create a digital accelerator where public institution, private sector, NGO, foundation, and so on can meet, expose their and respond to the demand. This is partly commercial. It's helping also our own industry and innovation center, academia, and so on. This is absolutely, I think, where the European Commission could play a role of catalyzer, in particular for a small country like mine and yours, and where we can also help small and medium enterprise that have little possibility to make commercial mission to Latin America to find the counterpart, and also where we can assess and advise how to deal with digital for the green challenges. Well, my colleagues speak about BELA, and BELA has two parts. One is the submarine part of the submarine cable, BELA-S. The other part is BELA-T. BELA-T is terrestrial, is the extension of the connectivity through Latin America and the Caribbean. We definitively would like to extend BELA-T in the future. Standard partnerships, I think I will skip that if people would like to sleep. The accelerator is really, it's a virtual platform when we could create an ecosystem able to implement really what we call the EU LAC Digital Alliance. It's where I think everybody, any member states, any member state institution or foundation or whatever could join and meet and work together with a common objective. Finally, we consider within our technological, digital issues, also the Earth observation and all the spatial technologies. In particular, Copernicus. Copernicus is a wonderful tool for monitoring deforestation, green, all what is green. And we are under discussion for the moment, first to have an emerging management data center in Panama and a backup calculus center in Chile. Both will help to disaster preparedness, but also could be very useful tool for all the green technologies within Latin America and the Caribbean. I speak a lot only on Copernicus, but also other spatial technology are concerned. It's late. I will stop there. I have been a little bit faster than I would expected, but I think it's better for everybody. I hope you will understand everything. And if not, please, we are available. And this is the future. Please, this is not ongoing yet.
Thank you very much, Mark. Thank you very much for a very sympathetic presentation. Now, actually, all the speakers have finished their presentations, and the floor is still open for a few questions. We are a bit over the time, but still some questions, comments from the side of speakers, the participants. We have a few ambassadors with us. The floor is open. Any recommendations, suggestions? Yes, please, Director Andelou.
Maybe just another comment for the presentation of Daniel. He mentioned that 50% of participation is due to Marie Skłodowska-Curie actions. And I would highlight that this is really a very useful instrument also for attracting foreign researchers in Slovenia, for example. It's one of the few instruments that we are very good in Slovenia in obtaining these funds. Moreover, Slovenia is giving additional financing if the fellows do not get funded, but they obtain seal of excellence from European Union. So this is really a very useful instrument. In our case, for example, we have 16 such researchers at the Institute coming from all over the world. And this is indeed a good chance for researchers from Latin American regions to come to European institutions. And I would really promote to use this mechanism more and encourage European Union to invest even more into this kind of mechanisms, which allow networking and internationalization of countries which are not so well developed in their system of research, development, and innovation.
Absolutely. Thank you very much for this. I couldn't agree more. Absolutely.
Andrea, please.
Yeah, but Mr. Renato Mosca was before me, so he has also the hand raised. No? Okay. Yeah, so,
no problem. Go ahead.
Okay. So I would like to add further to this comment, and I agree completely. We do have 4 Marie Curies as well at InnoRenew, but one thing that I find it very important is the continuation and to keep these researchers with us or to have a follow-up actually programs, also because during the time they're working on these projects, they cannot be officially on any other. So it means that it's always kind of like a gap. And so if there would be any tool given by European Commission that would enable then like this reset of like 6 months after they complete the Marie Curie funding, I think would be very beneficial. And of course, also I think that bilateral projects that Slovenian Research Agency is having with certain, or had in the past with certain countries, I think that this is something we should encourage on national level, that we would may have more of those. Of course, they're not having much of the funding, or there isn't like opportunity to do a lot of research wise, but even just the networking and getting to know the way we work in different areas of the world is very beneficial, especially when we come to innovation. That's how the innovation comes, when we are drinking different coffee, where we are drinking coffees in different countries together, and different coffees as well. So it's as a comment, I would just say.
Thank you, Ambassador Mosca.
Thank you very much, Mr. Velasco. I would like first to congratulate you as a moderator, and the high level of this seminar we are having. It's really impressive. I'm new in all these fields, and I'm trying. Probably I will need some hours to digest the information, but this is essential because this is the future. And saying so, I would like to make a very simple question to Mr. Lewin about what is exactly is Bela tea, because he said that it would be interesting to extend this to the Latin America, and I would like to have a brief idea what is this. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Bela tea means building link between Latin America and Europe. It's a part of a cable. It's a reserved right of use of the transatlantic cable coming from Portugal to Brazil. It's the only available large direct cable with a large capacity from Europe to Latin America. Until now, all the data are passing through the United States or within the cloud, but we don't have a direct connection. This right of use is 20% of the capacity of the cable, as been financed by the European Commission to different DGs. My colleague from RNI, Horizon 2020, paid a part of it. We paid also part of it to our counterpart, which is Giant, the manager of the connection within Europe, and Red Clara doing the same in Latin America. This is Bela S. Arriving in Latin America, we are building the same kind of partnership within the countries, from one country to the other, slowly buying right of use or building cable, building connection for within Latin America, and having there a large contribution to what we call the common area of research and innovation between Europe and Latin America. For the moment, the cable has landed in Brazil. Is in Brazil. We had the connection to Argentina done. The connection on with Chile was existing. From Chile, it's going to Ecuador. We are inaugurating for the, I think next week or this week, the connection at the north of Chile to our telescope, the EU telescope in the desert. And from Ecuador, it's going to Colombia, and the connection between Ecuador and Colombia is now down. The future for us will be to connect this Bela cable to Central America, going to Mexico. Our Calculus Emergency Center, Copernicus Emergency Center in Panama is an important element, and that will allow to the European Union to have a direct connection to Latin America, allowing big data to be transferred from Europe to Latin America, and create really a a plus for the innovation and the collaboration between, I would say, if I remember well, it's 15,000 center and research institute between Europe and Latin America. So this is why we speak so much of BELA, because it will create really a boost for the relation at technical and scientific level between both parts. Of course, the BELA cable is part of a large cable called ELA-Link, and 80% of this large cable has a commercial purpose, but at least 20% are reserved for innovation purpose. And we hope with that, increasing the possibility for Latin American private sector, the rates of innovation, the rate of investment in innovation, and then have a plus also for the European Union. I hope it's not easy to explain in 2 minutes, but this is more or less the excellent. There is an excellent website. If I can, I will send the link to Mr. Velasco that could transfer it to the interested person.
Yes, please do so, Mark. And I can also inform all of you that all the presentations will be available after this conference. So everyone will be able to see that. Any more questions? Any more comments? Or do we have a time for dinner? Actually, in Europe, at least. In Latin America, it's probably more a dinner, lunchtime. So, or time for siesta, maybe. Okay. If there are no more questions, I think this session was very informative. It took 2.5 hours, but still, I mean, we can continue, of course, also with the help, of course, Ministry of Foreign Affairs of Slovenia and our friends on the other side of Atlantic. So I hope that this third meeting of this kind will continue to the 4th, 5th, and so on, and we will have more and more ties and more concrete people that will collaborate from both sides of Atlantic. So thank you all for very, very interesting information and presentations, and I wish you in Europe a very nice evening. And on the other side of the Atlantic, I wish to our friends and colleagues in Latin American countries and Caribbeans a nice afternoon. So thank you very much and goodbye. Bye-bye.